family, what is up? Welcome to another episode of Crystal Clear Convos. I'm your host, Crystal Smith, and I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe to the Crystal Clear community. We can be found on Crystal Clear Convos on all social media platforms. So run on over to YouTube, run on over to Facebook, and make sure that you follow us and share with somebody, because we talk about we have transparent conversations that inspire change. And tonight we have a topic that you do not want to miss. Tonight we are talking about the millionaire mindset. There are so many different reactions that you get when you talk about having $1 million, having millionaire friends, having a millionaire network. And tonight we want to shed some light to our community on becoming a millionaire, developing the mindset to be able to be a millionaire and things of that nature. I find that a lot of times our community, we are reactive to things, right? We're not proactive. We don't necessarily do the homework and the due diligence that we should do in order to set ourselves up for a better circumstance or better situation. I've worked with the federal government for 24 years now. I started when I was 20 years old, and we have a 401k, and the 401k matches up to 5%, right? At the time, at 20 years old, I had no idea how a 401k worked, the money that I could make off of that. And so I made a lot of ignorant decisions regarding it. Now, fast forward 24 years later, my portfolio, my money could be so much bigger had I had the knowledge, sought out the knowledge simply to be able to add to that. So when I look back, I'm kind of like, oh, I made some decisions regarding that I could did some things I could have done differently. The good thing is you're never too old to learn. You're never too young to start learning. And today I have a young man that has been able to acquire $1 million portfolio. And he's going to share some of the tips and tricks that he has done in order to get to that $1 million portfolio. So I'm going to give you a second while I bring him on to go grab your pen and paper, because you need to take some notes, because this young man is full of knowledge. He's right here from the Tidewater area, the Hampton Roads 757. He's doing big things, and he is absolutely a wealth of knowledge. So without any further ado, I am going to welcome my new friend, Tim, who is the intentional millionaire, to Crystal Clear Convos. Welcome, Tim.
What is going on? I want to first say thank you, Krista, for allowing me the opportunity to come share. Thank everyone that's tuning in, because we're going to have a great conversation today. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about some of the fundamentals, but we also going to give our thanks, because if it wasn't for our spiritual being, we wouldn't necessarily be here. So with that being said, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity. Thank everyone for tuning in, and I'm ready to have the conversation, because I think it's something that we need to do. We should do. And I think part of it comes to the two things that I like to talk about is we have to believe it's for us, and then we have to execute.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you on today. Before we really get started, I mean, he sounds like he's ready to just testify, right? Let's get into it. Before we jump into it, I did want to give our listeners and our viewers the opportunity to have a brief background and insight on who you are, where you're from. So I'm going to read your bio so all the people know who Tim is. Growing up in Virginia, he grew up with a large family of 5 and pursued higher education at Old Dominion University, go ODU, and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering through an academic scholarship. Yes. Upon graduation, he began his career as an electronics engineer. So, y'all, he's not only smart with investing, he's highly intelligent as he's an engineer, okay? That allowed him the opportunity to travel extensively and establish connections both locally and globally. So he's not limited to just people here in the Hampton Roads area, y'all. He's well traveled, he knows other cultures, and has things going for him globally, okay? Actually, when we first started texting, he was in Australia. So he has things going on. He spent 14 years in the financial industry, obtaining a Series 6, 63, and 26 licenses, and is working to educate others on financial literacy while pursuing entrepreneurship. Eventually, he turned his focus to real estate, which we all love, and investments, and accumulated $1 million portfolio through hard work and dedication. Currently, he's launching a real estate fund, and in his free time, he enjoys staying active in the gym, in great shape, and reading. He loves to read and mentoring members of the community. Now, I have been told to make sure that I reiterate, this is not financial advice, okay? This is content for informational purposes only. And you always want to consult with your professional financial advisor or professional before you make any type of financial decisions, okay? So, welcome again. I wanted to get that bio in so people can know all of the amazing things that you have going on. So people can find information related to the intentional millionaire and the things that you do as far as investing, whether it's stocks or things going on in the stock market, the banking crisis, things of that nature. I've stalked your YouTube channel and found a lot of that information. You have some very insightful and helpful information there. So you all make sure you run over to his YouTube channel and follow him on The Intentional Millionaire. We won't get into details on that today, but we're going to start around kind of the mindset and how you got started and how you were able to build up to that $1 million portfolio. So we sat down and we had a conversation, and I was just gathering some information so we could really decide how we wanted this interview to go. And you shared something very, very important with me. And I think that was kind of a foundation on what sparked your mindset and a conversation you had with one of your best friends in high school. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, so going back to high school, so when I was in high school, I really enjoyed school from the standpoint of I always did my homework. I made honor roll every 4 weeks, every 9 weeks. But I was one of those people that I was an introvert. However, I had a lot of friends because I was able to I joke. I like to joke. But with that being said, I had a friend that was a Caucasian friend, and he mentioned to me that he had grew up in a racist household. And in doing that conversation, he mentioned that his parents used to tell him at the dinner table, him and his brother, that they would always be superior to black people is because they don't know a lot of the answer to their problems is in books, but they don't like to read.
Right.
So when I heard that, I took that personal. And from that day on, when I graduated high school, I made it my business to get me go to the library, which I had a library card at the school, but it was different when you have a library card and you have to go outside of the school because now it's volunteer. I had to volunteer to go research, to go read books. Whereas when you're in class in school, you're doing it because you have to, in a sense, because that's the only way you can get through high school. So with that being said, I took that personal and I just decided that I gave up TV at that point. And around that time, it was the Martin Show was one of my favorite shows that I enjoyed watching at that time. And I stopped watching TV. And I took all that extra time instead of watching TV, I turned that into learning time, I like to say, where I started to read books talking about self-study, self-help, and a couple major books for me was The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil. Those were some key books of mine because Outwitting the Devil was a great book that really allowed me to look at myself in the mirror and identify my flaws. And I thought it was a great book coming from, having a spiritual background was because the title itself was captivating, But when you start to read, and I'm not going to tell you it all, so you have to pick it up yourself. But one of the key things I really liked about the book was the author explained the book as though he was having an interview with the devil. Now, but it wasn't the devil as we think.
Okay.
The devil was himself. It was himself that he was having an interview with. So, and I thought that was just phenomenal because it really allowed me to really look at myself in the mirror and realize what holes do I have that I need to patch. So, and then the great thing about it is it looked at all the facets of life, from the fact of your spiritual being, your physical being, your mental being, and your financial being. So that was a very key book. And then another book was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And that was so critical is because it really helped me understand how I need to deprogram and reprogram my thought process about money. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Because growing up in the church, I heard money was the root of all evil.
Yeah.
But what the problem with that phrase for me was, but money has no value. See, it's the heart of the individual that puts the value of money. So what do I mean by that? If you have money, it's just going to expose who you truly are at your core, at your heart. So if you're a good person, you're just going to do more good things. If you're a bad person, you're going to do more bad things. But that was never explained to me. It was just that this fear and this lack of having finances seemed normal. And it almost was kind of pushed on you that having money make you bad. And I realized that that wasn't necessarily true, because as I started to build my own portfolio, it allowed me to actually be more willing to give, more willing to do things just out of the genuine, just want to do it versus having to do it or forced to do it. Right. So it just really took away that whole mindset of money is the root of all evil. And I think those are some of the key things for me that really was pinnacle things that allowed me to really change my mindset on how I need to move and go forward. And then the great thing that I also realized was, when it even came to, the church I was part of at that time, one of the key things I realized too was I needed to make more money, was because I can help the church continue to operate, to keep people coming in, to keep the lights on, but also be a staple as I like to say, as an example of showing people that you can have great finances and still be a great individual and still be right and still have you a spiritual relationship.
That's right.
So that was just some of the things for myself.
Well, that's awesome. I think that those books are some great references, and that was actually a question I was going to ask you towards the end. So I'll definitely try to put those in the comments. And it's interesting that you brought up that scripture that the love of money is the root of all evil. And the key word is like the love of money. So when you become obsessed with it, when you feel like, that you make it an idol or you make it a god, that is putting it in a different context versus being able to be financially prepared or wealth creation and things of that nature. And I think a lot of times in our communities, people in the faith-based community, I won't say churches, but in the faith-based community, a lot of times they feel like they have to lack or they can't be wealthy or be rich because that signals something negative. But like you said, it gives you the opportunity to be able to share with other people, to be able to make a difference and have a testimony of what God is capable of doing in the community surrounding wealth. A lot of times, we have people pass away and people need to take up offerings or do GoFundMe's or whatever. And I honestly don't believe that is the way that we are supposed to live. Our Father is rich and houses and land, and He wants us to be prepared and get the knowledge and education that we need to be financially stable and wealthy. So after you transitioned out of high school, you still chose to go kind of a traditional route with being in the workforce and working in corporate America, kind of traveling and exploring. At what point did you get to that pivotal moment where you were like, you know what? I don't know if working this 9 to 5 is the thing. Like, I understand entrepreneurship and I think I need to shift because we know that at some point you were working them both, paralleling them. But at what point or what was it? Was it an incident, a time? Did you meet someone that kind of made you transition over into the 9 to 5 may not be it? I think I need to pursue entrepreneurship.
Well, it was a series of things. So, um, when I graduated college, I did a co-op, and from that co-op, I ended up getting hired. And one of the things I realized within my very first day of being on the job was I realized that it was people that made great money, but they still was complaining, and their life just didn't seem fulfilling. I realized that the very first day, and then I told myself, well, if this is the case, I have to understand if I follow this path 100% as it is, I'm going to be just like them. And I think I accepted that what the place in the space I was at that time, but I also accepted that, yeah, I may be unique, but I'm not also different from the standpoint of outcomes. What do I mean by that? Because if I follow the same system they was doing, then it's a very good chance I'm gonna get the same type of results. So with that, I then decided to say, okay, where's something I can do outside of the 9 to 5 to still be able to generate income, be able to still have time to do some of the things that I like to do, but also be able to put my namesake on whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me into the financial space. Because it was one of those things where at the time I was working with a company, but I learned a lot of the entrepreneurial mindset, the entrepreneurial skill sets, the how to be, go into business part time, but understand that business is not just about, you marketing a product or service. It also has an operation side that most people don't pay attention to.
Right.
So it was just some of those things that really kind of brought everything together. So one, the fact that when I started working, I realized that people wasn't happy that was doing it for a few years that wasn't happy, and some was doing it for a very long time, still wasn't happy. That was one. And then the fact that two, I realized that I need to do something outside the 9 to 5 that I can put my name behind. So that was
Mm-hmm.
the next thing. And then the last thing was when you start being around people that were entrepreneurs at that time, then you start to pick up some of the mindsets because you do become you become a reflection of your 5 closest friends.
Yes.
And that could be friends, family members, co-workers, whatever it may be. So I say you also have to be mindful of the environments that you normally put yourself in or you become part of. So those were some of the things that really allow me to really pay attention to what type of outcome do I want. And at that time, I was just excited about just wanting to get out of debt.
Right. And this is in
Believe it
your
or not.
20s, right? You're in your
Um,
20s at this point, right?
That's correct. I was
Mm-hmm.
20, about 24, 25.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I even decided to go to college, I waited 2 years. So I didn't go to college right out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did say, well, I heard people complain about student loan debt, and I say, well, it don't make sense to go to college, and I don't know what I want to do with myself. So
Right.
I waited 2 years. I just worked, and just working. That was a that was just so bad just working at where I was working at the time. And I was just like, now I need to get a career or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Do
went
something
out,
different.
and then that's why I say, well, I guess I need to go to school. And what actually helped at that time was because when I was figuring out what did I want to do with myself, I ended up getting a girlfriend at the time. And
Uh-oh.
during that time, she was thinking about going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, yeah, I kind of thought about it, but let me go do something. So I went in to the guidance counselor at the community college. I said, and I'm going to keep this real brief, but I said, I just want to pick a major that's math based, that most people start and they don't finish because I needed to be challenged.
Okay.
And she said, I got the perfect curriculum for you, engineering. And I said,
Wow.
sign me
Yes.
up. And that's
Yes.
kind of how that happened.
Okay, so you went in the guidance counselor, and to that point, it's so important for young people to understand that they need to do their own reading and research because these guidance counselors aren't necessarily their advocates. Okay, the
That's
guidance
correct.
counselors, they'll go in and they'll say, "Oh, you want this, this, and this? Go for it and keep it moving." They're not concerned about what's going to happen if you graduate, what's going to happen after graduation, your wealth, your family. They're not concerned about any of that. So it's important to be an advocate for yourself in those earlier years and do your due diligence. So you went to school, you started the engineering program, you were successful at that, graduated. How did you? I've learned in my research that the top ways to be wealthy is to have a portfolio with stocks and invest in real estate. Those are the top two ways to be able to create wealth. So, how did you actually transition? How did you decide, you know what, I want to venture into real estate investments, or I'm going to start learning the stock program? Because you actually were in the workforce for about 14 years, correct?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things when I started working in the financial space, the first thing that I was in tune was because it was just myself. I didn't have any kids, wasn't married, nothing like that. And then I had got out of debt, so I took all my part-time income, with full-time income, and I just paid off all debt at that time. I had a total of about $21,000 I paid off in a year and a half.
Wow.
And I would just been on getting out of debt. Nothing else mattered.
Talk
And I
about
know
that a
this.
little bit. Talk about
It,
that obsession
so
you said
so
you
so
had to
here's
get
the
out of debt.
thing. And I'm gonna use this word, but I think it got such a negative connotation around it. But I want to explain. I got obsessed with getting out of debt because the fastest way you're going to get out, you got to get obsessed with getting out. If not, you're going to draw it out too long, and then the process becomes painful. And most
Mhm.
people don't like pain. So I got obsessed with getting out of debt. What does the session means for me? Now, a session for each individual is different because it depends on your circumstance, husband and wife, kids, so forth
Mhm.
and so on. But for me, what that meant was I just work, spend time with my family, go to family functions, make extra money, put it all to the debt. Work, spend
Mm.
time with who I need to spend time with, go make money, put it on debt. That's pretty much what it was. I didn't do no fun stuff. I
No
felt
red,
like I already
no
had the
no
fun having
Gucci,
debt.
no designer clothes, no red
None of that.
bottoms, no lavish cars.
No lavish cars, no designer clothes, no none of that.
Mhm.
Not spending money because I at that point what I created for me was a reward punishment system.
Okay.
Meaning I got my reward, my punishment was I have this debt. My reward is gonna be paying it off. And then once I pay it off, then I can go do something for myself because I allowed myself that opportunity.
Mhm.
Too many times I think even and one of the things that I even talk about it go I took the phrase of if you don't work you shouldn't eat. And how I look at it is, well, if I made the debt, I don't deserve fun.
Okay.
So I just took some of the basic principles that I grew up because I grew up in the church. It's funny because me and my brother, I got a brother that's a year older than me. I'm the youngest of five. And me and him had to go to church every Sunday, and my mom and dad
Mhm.
stayed didn't go.
But they made sure you
but
guys went.
but I just remember some of the things, and I like to say for me, I took some of the all the fundamentals because I didn't know much, I didn't have much, I was broke as a joke. But one thing I did know was I took whatever information or resources I had in front of me, and I tried to build off of something.
Mhm.
It was messy, it was all over the place, but it allowed me to be who I am today. And I don't take that for granted by any means, but I say for individuals, you got to do the same thing. You just got to do it for you based on where you at. And so for me, that's kind of the fundamental things that I've done to get my mindset right. But with saying that, coming back to that point, there was I really identified that I don't deserve to do fun stuff or be spending money that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
What I deserve to do is to pay this debt off, because on the back end of the debt, they charging me interest.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I got excited about. That's what I got obsessed about. Because I got obsessed because I wanted to get it over with. I don't like drawing out pain.
Right.
I want to get it over with. Whenever I go get my physicals at the doctor's office and I got to get shots, I don't like needles. I'd be like, come on, let's go ahead and get it over with.
Get it
I
done.
don't want, we don't need you to be moving slow and doing all this stuff and fumbling around. No, let's go ahead and get this over with.
Get straight to it. Right.
Because and I think that this is one of the things when it comes to debt, people have to identify with, and those out there that have got out of debt, that they could relate to this. Because if not, it's going to draw out things going to come up that you can't control, and then you're just going to draw the process out even more. Right. And then what some people tend to do, and I'm giving my example, but I'm also giving some of the experiences of some of the people I can consult with. What some people tend to do is they want to get out of debt, but they already got 2 vacations already planned in the future. And to me, you ain't serious. I'm just saying, you're not serious, because you're going to go on vacation. You're going to 9 times out of 10 going to overspend. And now you're going to look up, you can get back, you have fun, and now the nightmare starts all over again.
It starts all over again. Truth be told, you can't really invest or look to get into that next level if you got a ton of debt, if you don't have money in the savings account. So it's important to hustle, like you said, and be focused and obsessed with getting that paid off so that you can start saving, so you can start investing, and you have that money to actually put towards those things. Our time just seems to have flown by. Like, we're already at almost 30 minutes. And I'm so glad that you agreed to do a part 1 and a part 2. I do want to get more into your journey in getting out of debt. You talked about you are broke as a joke, and now you have $1 million portfolio and what that journey looked like. We're going to have a part 2 and have you on next week so that people can definitely get all the details. We have gone through the bio and we're able to jump right into it. So I want people to set a reminder for next week's show, so that they can finish hearing this interview and what we're talking about surrounding the millionaire mindset and what your journey has been to get to that successful place. So if you all haven't done so already, remember to set your reminder, follow everything, all things Crystal Clear Convos. And until next time, be blessed.